So welcome everyone to this library board meeting. I want to read this first. Library board meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron YouTube channels. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or other presentation material will become part of the public record. I'd like to call this library board meeting to order now. Move in a second. Moved by Nick, second. Okay. Approval of the agenda. Same thing. I got Nick and Patricia. All in favor? That's carried. Minutes of the previous meeting, which was on the 15th of May. Looking for a mover to second to adopt the minutes circulated. By Anita, seconded by James. Any discussion on these minutes? Seeing none, then all in favor? We have a couple of presentations today. Our first one is library projects overview presented by Jenny Boyles, Deputy Librarian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today I'll be talking to you all a bit about my role, some of the recent accomplishments for the library, and a few of the projects that I'm helping to move forward this year. Although I think that you have met most everyone, I'd be remiss to not introduce the library leadership team. This includes administrative staff and branch managers. We meet as a group quarterly for half-day meetings by Zoom and in-person full-day planning meeting in September. So, of course, you know Beth Brown, County Librarian, myself, Deputy County Librarian. The one that you may not have met yet is Kelly Greg. She's our office manager, and she is the backbone of our organization. She helps us stay organized and on track. Of course, there's Shannon Kemmer, our information services librarian, Katie Shedlick, the systems librarian, Jim Seal, programming and community engagement coordinator, and Amy Zudout, marketing and branding coordinator. And the branch managers, Danielle Bettridge, Michelle Carter, Trina Huffman, Krista Lanen, and Tanis Vanderbilt. So this is what makes up our library leadership team. So first, I'm just going to go over real quickly what some of my roles are as Deputy County Librarian. Primarily, I am responsible for the health and safety of staff and our branches. I'm involved with staff hiring, onboarding, and support of staff. I work with them on professional development and training. I oversee a lot of the physical library projects, and then the behind the scenes administration that helps move those projects forward. So first of all, a few of the standard practices of my role as the health and safety manager for the library include monitoring the monthly branch inspection reports for issues that need to be addressed or assessed for risk, and bring those forward to the Joint Health and Safety Committee. I'm also responsible for ensuring that our staff are trained in first aid. We have a rotation for training that helps spread out those costs over 3 years. So some of the highlights that we have accomplished recently are the newly updated incident reporting form. The old one was just a little trickier to fill out, so we were only hearing about those really drastic incidents that happen, and we wanted to start to capture all of the some of those interactions that staff are having with patrons that might be affecting their mental health, and as things sometimes can get escalated. So we wanted to make that form a little easier to fill out and to be able to capture that. So it's up to the paperwork a bit, but I think we're getting a much better sense of what's happening in the branches. We've also introduced a staff debriefing process. This is something that came out of a session that I attended at the Ontario Library Association Super Conference. Calgary Public Library presented on this, and it's a way for staff to be debriefed following an incident. It helps make sure that they're not ruminating on something that's happened and not carrying that stress with them. And managers are then referring them to the EFAP in case they need to get further help. This year in March, we also upgraded the personal panic alarms in our branches. The single person branches already have this, but we've extended that to our town branches as well. There's multiple fobs so that if staff are away from the branch, if they need to, they can press that fob. The staff that are at the desk are aware that something's going on in the branch. And in the meantime, Georgian Bay has notified police and are dispatching them there. In April, we brought naloxone into the branches for first aid response, and all of the staff have been trained on naloxone at this time. A large chunk of my time goes to library staff hiring and onboarding, as well as the management and support of the 20 staff that report directly to me. I meet with administrative staff weekly for one-on-ones to discuss their projects and help move those forward. And I meet bi-weekly with branch managers to help support them through staffing and branch concerns. Although the relief staff report directly to me, they are primarily overseen by the managers of the branches where they are supplying. So far this year, we have hired one West Team branch assistant, 2 summer literacy students, and 4 library relief staff. And we're in the process of hiring a page for Linton Library. Another one of my roles is to facilitate professional development and training for staff. And this involves reviewing training requests as well as to reaching out to individuals with opportunities that align with their objectives and goals. As a system, staff are trained on how to handle the unique needs of marginalized members of the community through the Ryan Dowd homelessness training for librarians. And everyone has taken the Safe Library basic training, as well as a few other annual conferences. Each year, select staff attend the Ontario Library Association Super Conference, and I do the logistics for that. And that's a place where they can learn about the latest trends and practices in the library world. This fall, all staff will have an opportunity to gain skills in how to handle discrimination or abuse when they witness it. And this is together with the local immigration partnership. So some of the physical library projects that I've helped manage this past year include the completion of the Exeter Phase 2 refresh. Tanis Vandermolen was the primary lead on this one. The library administration refresh, which involved us taking down some shelving in the back area to create a larger meeting space that's a bit more private, as well as putting sound baffling up around to kind of help with the open concept. We were having staff that were struggling with concentrating in some areas. And then the Clinton circulation desk was installed in January of this year. So my regular administration work includes signing off on the weekly accounts payable, taking care of purchasing, writing monthly update for the library board, as well as overseeing system projects such as the recent update to our library hours. I'm always looking for ways to make work easier for myself and for others. So some of the administrative documents that I'm particularly proud to have created include the project management planner, this staff hours budgeting and tracking tool, and our library year at a glance document, which I will talk more about next. So the library year at a glance started in 2023 and has extended to individual members of the library leadership team as well as to branch teams. The full system 2024 year at a glance is reviewed monthly at our administrative meetings and updated and shared with all staff to help communicate where we are with our projects. We've already begun a document to help capture the ideas for 2025 so that we can begin prioritizing and planning in September. So now I'll quickly go over a few of the projects where I'm listed as lead for 2024. The staff manual is our biggest project this year and is proving to be one of our biggest challenges as it's always tricky to just carve out time to stop and focus on our processes and procedures. It is critical that we do this, though. The current manual is outdated with many pre-COVID procedures. This causes confusion for staff. And we're hoping to make the new format more easily searchable for staff with a table of content that has live links to it. It can be a living document that's on each of the computers, as well as providing an at-desk organizational file that they can just flip to things that they need for quick reference. A few months back, you received a report from Beth about funding from the McCall-McBain Foundation to support youth programs and spaces in the Brussels, Exeter, Goderich, and Seaforth branches. This is funded through 2026. Year one, which is this year, we are focusing on the purchase of VR headsets, gaming systems, crickets, Nerf guns, and a karaoke machine, and rolling out pilot programs. You'll be seeing a lot of those coming out of Goderich right now. They're the ones that are kind of fine tuning these programs, and then we can push them out with manuals for how staff can implement those programs to the other branches. In addition, there's some space renovations that we are doing, the Seaforth lower level, and also putting window doors in the program room in Exeter to help with some sightlines. So the Seaforth upgrade involves a glass enclosure, very similar to this room. And it'll help decrease sound while still allowing for sightlines in space. A gaming system and seating will provide passive programming opportunities for teens. And while this room is meant to serve teens, it will also be multifunctional for all ages and program types. The picture on the left shows a gaming room that's at the Mississauga Public Library. It was part of a tour that I did when I was at OLA, so I caught a picture of that, and it's kind of a similar. So I'm currently in the process of obtaining some design ideas and quotes from multiple vendors for the Clinton Shelving Project. This project was made possible with funds carried forward. You've seen it every year. There's $55,000 that's carried over for Clinton Shelving. We're finally going to use it this year. A space audit was conducted by the public and staff in 2023, and this project is going to involve a reduction in the adult collection in that area, but it is going to help increase space and help us meet accessibility standards in that branch. If you remember from your tour, it's pretty crowded and a little maze-like in that adult area of the branch. Work is expected to be completed in late fall of 2024, and we're hoping to align this when the lift is being installed by Central Huron in that space. The branch may need to close for a couple of weeks during that time, and we're hoping to just get it all done in one shot. The picture that I've shown there is from Barrie Public Library, and it gives a bit of an idea of what we're hoping to go for. If you remember in Clinton, there are a couple of pillars that are there, and that's what we're trying to work around. So we'll still keep the tall shelving along the outside of the branch, but then we're going to do sort of pinwheel shelving out from the pillars, and hope that that's going to work to kind of create more space. I'm hoping to make those shelves mobile as well, so they could potentially be moved and reconfigured depending on the space needs, so that they can have a bit more space for when they bring in some of those amazing author talks and things that they've been doing. The Ontario Genealogical Society reached out. They were going to be moving the materials out from the log cabin. So we have been speaking with them about that. We're still working to finalize the MOU for this project, but I wanted to give you a bit of an idea of what we are hoping to do. The library will receive the materials from the OGS in July of 2024, and those will be processed and cataloged at our library administration. Then the whole collection will be moved to Seaforth Library in 2025, once that has been cataloged. And we are hoping to have it accessible to the public by July of 2025. That is the Seaforth Homecoming. It would be a nice way to have that collection launched and featured there. It will only be available to the public for in-branch use, so these will not be loanable materials. Multiple departments are interested in providing residents with the convenience of paying for services with credit or debit. So the point of service and online payment project is currently in the hands of Treasury as we work to figure out what the best system would be for that as a system. So because of that, there's the potential that this project will roll into 2025. But it is a goal for us to be able to have those credit and debit options available at the branches as well as online for when people need to pay for damaged books and programs, things like that. So that is everything for me. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk to you a bit more about my role in the library and some of the projects that are near and dear to my heart. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. There's a little bit more general, but there's all of these interesting and youth materials. I have no idea what it is. Could we have a library board opportunity to check these things out at some point?
That would be very fun. I will note that. And yeah, one of the things with the Cricut, it's a vinyl cutting thing, and it does have there's some technical there's some technical aspects of it. So before we have the public using it, there's little sharp parts. It's a cutter. We are looking into providing training for people even before they can use it. So the goal is to have it available for people to come and use. They can either purchase materials from us or they can bring their own materials to use it. But we are looking at some sort of training program that they would have to go through that sort of certifies them to use it beforehand. And we could certainly look into arranging something like that for library board members as well. Yeah.
For for items like the Cricut and the VR headsets and that sort of stuff, are these designed to be used exclusively in branches? Yes.
Yes, at this time, that is what we are looking at. I know there are some library systems that are circulating them, but we're going to take baby steps and start out with just in branch use, staff supervised use of the VR sets. Perfect.
I was looking in this report, Jenny, to see if there's anything about these lockers that we were using in some of the branches. Where are we in that now? Or is that your domain?
It was in my periphery. It's like my peripheral vision. Those library lockers, they were installed in Bayfield and Goderich. They have launched, but I don't have the latest numbers on that of how much uptake we did promote those a bit more. Once the launch happened, we were hoping to see a little higher rise in numbers. So I know that Amy was working on that with some marketing. I think at least in Goderich, I believe that they're being used fairly regularly. At this point, staff are definitely getting more comfortable with them. And we had quite a few technical issues just to get them installed. But now that they are up and running, touch wood, it feels like they have remained up and running and we're not seeing those same issues. So I think staff are getting more and more comfortable working with them as well.
Thank you for that report. Yeah, that's good to hear. Word be Neil.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Through you to Jenny, great report. You put a lot of effort into this. You delivered it extremely well. I'm really impressed the way you're caring for our staff as far as providing the first aid training. So that if there's a need, they're prepared for that, and also dealing with issues that may come up from anyone that visits the library. So well done.
Any other comments or questions from members of the board? I'd just like to add my thoughts that this is a really informative report, and we all received this well, and it's good to know what's going on, and so. I'll read this then. The Huron County Library Board receives a presentation by Jenny Boyles, Deputy County Librarian, dated June 19th, 2024, titled Library Projects Overview. Waiting for a mover and a seconder. By Alina. Seconded by Nick. Any other comments or questions before I ask? All those in favor? That is carried. Next, presenter is Michael Clunay.
Thank you, Chair. Share the screen. Yeah, before I start, I was thinking of, I too, as staff, would love to see some of that virtual reality stuff. Maybe as part of the World Appreciation Day, maybe we could arrange some staff playing some virtual golf instead of tearing up the golf course.
Like the thing.
Depends whether it's raining.
Yeah, yeah, I always said a little bit of damage to the golf course playing once a year. So. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to yourselves today. Just before you, the purpose really is just to highlight some of the year-end results for library services, and also for the board to approve the draft audited statements. So on your approval, or KPMG will issue the final statements, but that'll be later in August. But really that is the purpose for today. But overall, Beth and her team, Jenny and the other leadership team, they've actually done a really great job this year in terms of our 1.3 managing their budget. Really, it was that full year since the beginning of COVID, where it was a normal year of operations, and so they've done a great job managing overall within budgets. So, so overall. Looking at just the operations of capital reserve activities and corporate revenue, just library ended up with the variance to budget of $89,000. So my first paragraph there in the comments section, I have a figure in there of 35,000. That should actually be 9,090. That 35 is net of the revenue for the library lockers, which I think. But the true surplus for libraries is 89,000. So that's about a 2.5% variance to budget. So, but if we're just to look at the financial statements, it doesn't tell the whole picture. We're a little limited in terms of the statements that are presented for, because really the library is just essentially a department of the county, so it doesn't fully reflect all of the capital or all the reserves that are held on behalf of the library, and it doesn't capture the assets that are being by the library. Those are all. But if we were to just look at the operating statements as part of the Appendix B, these provide some of a little more details. In terms of where some of the variances to budget. So overall, if we look at this particular statement, that's showing 111,000 But this is strictly just the operating statement. It doesn't actually take into account activity that has happened really off the income statement. Or small balance sheet. So we can see some things here like this under small tools and equipment. There's $15,000 budget and zero expenditures. And so it's showing savings. But that is attributed to the Clinton project, branch project that Jenny spoke to in the presentation, $55,000. There's an additional $15,000 that's sitting on the operating soft costs of that project. And so while that here shows as the savings, I've actually set that aside on the balance sheet. So I've committed those funds for 2020. So it shows as a savings here, but it's not a savings to budget because I set those aside. And that's rolling forward into 2024, and then those funds are available for, and we're not actually having to re-raise that money. So that's why there's a little bit of a disconnect just between this particular statement and that $89,000 that I'm talking about, because that 89 encompasses all activity. In addition to that, there's a couple other projects that we carried forward. They show a savings on this statement, but we actually carried it forward for various reasons. So there was a security project that was 27,600. I mentioned the branch 15,000 plus 55 on the capital side. 17,000 for booking software, 3,500. And you will also note here that within the budget, we actually have 53,000 project revenue. I booked that revenue. That's for the library lockers in the Goderich. I booked that actually corporately. Yeah, corporate COVID safe restart accounts. That's where I actually booked that. So it shows that we're short revenue here, but in fact not. But I've taken that into account. Again, I'm not going to go over some of the details, but we've got the details, consolidation from the library, and there's also the sub-departments which show your just administration. So just the library here would just be that administration for library. We have, sorry, that's the headquarters. And then we get into library branches, which is more just branch activity, and then there's a more detailed account of some of the special projects. So if you want to get a little more into the weeds, that detail is available, but I don't that today unless you have some questions. If we get into just the capital budget, overall small variance to the budget. Few items were carried forward, so we had the Clinton Library project that was carried forward. What we do with your books and materials, last year the budget was $261,000 for your books. What was spent was $231,000, and there was a savings essentially of $29,600. Not a true savings because again, I set that aside, rolled that into the book reserve, and those are available for your 2023 commitments that were made but not received until 2020. So there's always a timing difference with when you're ordering or committing funds and when they're actually received. So it might be, a year before a book is received on ordering it. So those funds have been committed but not received. So therefore, I'm setting that money aside for when they come in. The cash is available. So overall, just small surplus from the capital reserve and some project. What you don't see on these particular statements are the reserves themselves. So the book reserve, the balance, again, that's booked corporately or shown on the corporate statements, and the reserve there is $160,260. And the library cap, which is the community access placement reserve. So that's a kind of historical legacy program that isn't really operational right now. There's a balance there, $63,780. Maybe there's some opportunity there if there's some technology initiatives that the library is looking at. There's some small funds down there, just essentially saying that could be available for future use. Any particular questions on that before I just get into the actual statements, the audited statements?
Any question for Mike, just like Calvin here?
Um, Is there some place where we can see what we
Yes, not at this particular moment, we don't have our financial statement out, but, or they're not finalized yet, the corporate. In terms of, seeing that on the statements, yes. Could be.
I'll be looking at the county of Huron,
Yes.
etc.
Yes, but not until I'll be presenting those hopefully in August. So they're not quite ready. I can bring up the Excel spreadsheets right now, but they're not the official document and they weren't part of the agenda. So, but yeah, they are listed as separate reserves within one of our schedules.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Michael?
Okay. So the draft statements are also included. From the agenda. Again, the auditors have reviewed the statements and provided their assessment overall and no concerns overall with respect to materiality, or they're not materially stated. The first page is the statement of financial position. This is historically known as the balance sheet. It's not quite as meaningful for just the library board itself because really the library is embedded within the corporation. So a lot of the cash and the bank accounts and whatnot to run all of your operations is just embedded as with all other departments. So that's where you see this figure here due from county to Huron. So it's 250,000. So this essentially replaces what a bank account would be. So the county actually owes the library services 242,000 to discharge any of its liabilities. So and that's where you see on the financial liabilities. There's accounts payable and accrued liabilities. There's a value there of 154,000. So this would be any accounts payable that were outstanding at the end of 2023, and would also include any employee obligations for outstanding vacation entitlements and different things like that. So this is money that's owed, obviously, because you don't have your own bank account, and the county pay for that. That's where that would be embedded in that due for the county of Huron. So that's essentially what it is. Not a lot of change in the AP year over year, fairly consistent, but essentially that's what it is, just the outstanding trade and a little bit on the employee side. There's also timing difference with respect to just payroll itself. There's always, the pay seems to kind of cut over year end, so we have to accrue that expense that relates to the last few days. On the deferred revenue side, this is essentially donations that have been provided to the library. So large increase year over year from 47 up to 150,000, and I believe that is the main funding that was received last year. You don't actually show that as earned revenue on your income statement until you actually incur the expenses. So as you're rolling out these plans that Jenny had highlighted as part of her work, and we're incurring those expenses, that's when we start recognizing that revenue. You'll see that in 20. And the prepaid expenses decreased year over year on that. It's just relating to some timing differences in terms of some expenses that were in and around the year end. So essentially what that prepaid would be, if we paid for something out of your 2023 budget that relates to 2024, set that up to prepaid. It's not actually expense because based on accounting rules, you have to report an expense in the year that it relates to. So perhaps there was a 2024 membership that we paid in December. We set that up as prepaid and recognize it as an expense in 2024 because it makes it. So that's what those prepaid. Again, this is a very high level summary of what I previously shown you on that report. These are just your aggregated accounts for the consolidated library. But overall, again, it just shows the county of Huron, this is the tax that was raised for supporting the library services. Or from an operating, again, this doesn't include your reserve and or capital activities, but just from an operating basis, there we raised through taxes 3.42 million to support operations, and the actuals came. We have one thing to note, just if comparing 2022 to 2023, looks like there was a significant increase just in expenses overall. But again, 2022 partial year where we still had COVID impacts where we're not operating in full activity. We like May, you kind of ramped up.
May is when we rolled out the full. meetings in terms of-
Yeah, so just that year-over-year comparison in terms of the expense increases balance, just due to that fact. 2023 and forward is more reflective of the true operations for library services operating in a full year. Just a little bit. That's really about it, what I wanted to share on those statements. I don't know if there's any particular questions on the draft statements.
Any questions for Michael? Adina?
Why is it in one place it shows nothing spent on tools and small equipment, here it shows 6,000?
That is just due to the aggregation of how we're moving the accounts. So on the detailed appendix, it lists every single account, right? Here it's aggregating, so there might be 5 of those accounts that are aggregated in one account. So this is a very high level consolidation of all those activities. So if you look at here, so just the comparison of these are just kind of the categories, right? So branch maintenance, administration, etc. And if you get into the previous report, when you can see that we've got all these accounts that are kind of rolled up in those higher level functional categories. So that's where there would be that difference where on that one particular account for library branches, right? Branches, you'll see that there's nothing spent. So, you know, the library branch, that small tools equipment account, 0 expenditures, but we had the 15. But there's another page with library headquarters. So it's different account, but same description. It's also library headquarters, small tools and equipment. There were expenditures. Well, you're not earning. But again, it depends on how it's aggregated. So, but right, so that's where the statements are. It's a little more challenging. It's good for a high level snapshot in terms of where you're at overall. But if you really want to get into the weeds where, you know, what's going on in a particular account or particular budget item, that's where you have to get into the additional appendix. That's hopefully explained, but it's just a summary and an aggregation, a whole bunch of accounts. And corporately, like just there's probably 300 or 400 accounts in the libraries, but within the corporation itself, we've got 3,500 accounts that we consolidate into one statement, right? So it's hard on a consolidated basis to really see what's going on, except for those higher level trends.
You have spreadsheets for this.
Absolutely, yes, I know, and we enjoy working with spreadsheets. That's the good thing.
Yeah, if you didn't enjoy it, you got elsewhere.
Yeah, I know. I know. Don't smile.
Well, it's good to see that we're working in the budget. I'm guessing there's a question. You got another question, Elaine?
This is much more, maybe even more for the warden, but I see people cutting libraries here and there. School libraries and print out. What does our outlook look like in the longer term?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's okay if I respond to that. I suggest that the future looks very, very bright. Huron County Council holds cultural services and in particular libraries very, very high regard. And I don't think that anyone needs to be concerned about our future. We realize the potential of our libraries for all ages, whether, and I will leave it there, for all ages, and especially you. So in Huron County, I would suggest we have no. So I'll stand by it.
And I totally agree with that, and we're not, we get these figures and we're not questioning what's happening here, and we're staying within our budget. That's the thing that I really watch, is what's going on that way. Yeah, council is a big supporter of this, so
If I could expand on that just a little more before I think Mr. Becker has a comment, and that's the fact that I will suggest that Huron County is a leader in so many regards. And our library services through our director, Beth Rumpel, is one. And we realize the priorities for to continue to advance Huron County forward. Start with you. We are high on the future.
I totally agree with Mr. Warden's comments and your comments, but just Beth's lead and the team that's behind her. Full support, and that's what we hear out in the community, is how good everything's running. Keep up the good work. Mike was looking after the financial end of it, keep the books balanced. His team is very supportive of you guys doing your job. And the changes they're making in the libraries to accommodate the future. It's beyond me, some of the stuff you talk about, but my grandkids fully understand. They're using it. I hear from my granddaughter, they go to the library in Zurich quite a bit. And thank you.
Yeah, just separate from this report, and I just wanted to highlight some of the assets that, you know, we book these corporately, but they're actually being managed by the team. And we just went through the asset management plan process, which library services is part of that. But in terms of just first of all, the quantity of assets being managed by the library team, there's over 210,000 assets that are actually being actively managed by library services. So significant assets with a value of approximately $7.5 in terms of value, current value that's being managed. So just to share that information. I was quite surprised when I saw the numbers at first in terms of what the quantity that they were given, and it's impactful for me. So I just thought I'd share that as well in terms of what's being managed. And again, you don't see that in your statements, but that is part of our asset management planning corporately and corporately.
any other comments for Michael or questions? Seeing none, I will read this then. Huron County Library receives a report by Michael Woolager dated June 19th, 2024, titled Library Year-End Financial Review is presented for information. The Huron County Library Board approves the 2023 draft audited financial statements. Waiting for a second. By Warden McNeil, second. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks for your time here. That's great. Board member comments. Do board members have any comments this time?
One comment. And I did a survey of newcomers. And one of the questions they asked is about government services. And the library came out #1. It's a 94% appreciation of the service provided. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
That's good to hear, and what I really appreciate is the library finding things that need attention and doing something about it. And I think it was just last night on the TV, there was a report from a gentleman and a lady in the forest that had got into hygiene products and things like that for the community, and I just thought to myself, how long ago and Beth started this already? How much farther ahead we are where the municipality. Forest, it took two individuals on their own to spear this project, so things like that are being noticed for sure.
If I could offer a comment, Mr. Chair, and then follow up on what you have said with Alina. And that is the fact that businesses and our library is a business, as is Huron County, need to continually evolve and to address what the market, which is our clients that coming to the library want, need, before they know they need it. And through yourselves and the leadership, Huron County libraries do that. When you talk about the virtual and that sort of thing, that's simply amazing. And I really credit the libraries. That's why Huron County is a leader in so many fronts. The libraries, cultural services being one, is because of the way we take care of those. We continually evolve. We don't wait to be reactive or proactive. That's a real credit to the library, and that's how businesses stay relevant.
Any other board member comments? Seeing at this time, we're up now to reports of the county librarian. Administrative monthly updates is your first.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. There's just a few pieces in the report that I will draw your attention to or expand upon briefly. You'll see there's a quote, and there's mention of it later in the report about the volunteer appreciation week. And there were 47 library volunteers were recognized during that week. So we are very appreciative of those folks who are giving up their time. And it was nice to see that they also appreciated the gift that they were provided with. You will also notice something referred to as Tip Tap Pay, and you may have seen it if you've been in our Goderich branch or if you visited the museum in the last couple of weeks. It's a new system that, as the report says, allows you to tap a debit credit card to make a quick donation. It's been used for the Goderich book sale, and that went over very well. And it's a way that we can continue to capture. When we got rid of fines, we did hear that some people felt that was a donation. Some people have continued to provide small amounts of change, but this is another avenue for those folks who do want to donate. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to do so. And it's exciting that they can be portable, so we can take them to outreach events and things like that as well. So it's very early days of that, but we are rolling it out just in time for the summer outreach season so that we can use those. So that's exciting. You'll also see mention of our all staff training day, and thank you to those who were in attendance. It was a great day. We covered a variety of topics from education to social activities to, we did do interactive of our some of our new tech with staff. So I like the suggestion of including more of that for the board. We also did a follow-up survey of the day and very positive feedback from staff on that, which is great to see, and a few things that we can keep in mind moving forward as well for future all staff days. Just a bit of an update on the library's transforming communities work that is touched on again in your update report. The Zurich conversations have completed. We're currently working on their street interviews in that community. And then we do hope to have the information compiled to share back to the community by the end of the summer prior to starting the conversations in live community. And lastly, I just want to draw attention to the signage piece because that was a significant project as far as time developing, installing, and just the impact that it has visually now that it has been installed. So that was something that Amy Zubout designed. It's in our new branding colors. It has our new hours. So we're really excited to see that at all of our branches. So hopefully you've noticed it, or if you haven't, go and visit a local branch because it's It's very eye-catching. Any other questions from that report?
Tricia?
It's just, interest question, the, by name list, I had not heard of that before, so I just thought, could you expand on that, it's curiosity?
Sure, yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. This is something that our social services department leads. It's part of the housing and homelessness work that they do. But, and I mean, we should have Aaron Scully here to describe it most appropriately. But I'll give a shot at it, that it is a system that they use to engage with folks who are experiencing homelessness. And the idea is that it's no wrong door, that if we have captured those who are in need of housing, that any of the various service providers who may interact with these individuals can connect with them and note that we've interacted, we know they're still active on the list. So the library serves two roles, as far as a lot of the time we see that they have relationships with these individuals, so they can go through the initial process of getting them on the by name list. And also, and I don't know exactly what the criteria is for having these folks on our radar to know they're still in our community, they're still in need. But the library can also serve that purpose of, yes, I've interacted with John Doe. I know he's still in the community, and that piece as well. So if you have further questions and would like a more in-depth explanation, I can connect you with the social services staff that can do that.
And that's why, because it sounds like it's just a way to keep track and care in a way for people. So it's just, I had not heard of it because they don't have the other pieces of ID, I guess, which is a way we can track people. Otherwise, track sounds bad, but we can be aware of people's well-being. But this way is a way to do it without an ID. That's what I'm gathering.
I don't believe they need ID. I haven't actually, I don't know, Jenny, do you know off the top of your head what?
No, and I think that's, it is a way to sort of capture that, even if they don't have us to have identification. That is part of it as well. It's just getting a record.
Right. No, that's awesome. I just hadn't heard of it before. So thank you for the explanation.
Mr. Chair, if I could just anecdotally add an additional comment through yourself to your patrician to follow up on what Beth and Jenny have said. And again, Huron County's leader in that to establish this by name list. And the province looks very favorably upon funding to know what the needs are in the respective counties in Ontario. So
Sounds really good.
yeah, it is. It's very, very important.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this? I'll read this then. The Huron County Library receives the report from Beth Rummel, County Librarian, dated June 19th. On monthly updates, presented for information. Looking for approval and second. Moved by Jane, seconded by Cindy. All in favor? That is carried. The next topic is on the July to September events outside library hours.
Thanks through you, Mr. Chair. This is a standard report that we bring forward if there's ever something happening in the library that is outside the regularly scheduled hours as per our hours policy. So there are currently 2 items that are planned that we'd be looking forward to outside of library hours.
Any comments or questions on this? We accept this report from Beth and then looking for a mover and seconder. This by Nick, seconded by Patricia. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we have the Alice Monroe branch donation.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So many of you may be aware that the North Huron Museum is closing. They're in the process of moving their artifacts to wherever the appropriate home is. There were funds that were raised for the museum that the municipality is now looking to donate to the Huron County Library. This is being brought forward based on our donations policy. And I would just also indicate that staff are supportive of accepting this donation and have had an opportunity to discuss what we could potentially do should we receive the donation.
Any questions for Beth on this? I'll read this then. The Huron County Library receives this report about the Alice Monroe donation. Board approved the donation from the municipality of North Huron in the amount of $5,568.25 to be allocated towards preserving and sharing the North Huron heritage. Moved by Nick. Seconded by me. Any other questions about it? All in favor? That's carried. The next report is on the arrangement of the meetings, change in our meeting schedule.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, several years ago, legislation changed that at a minimum, library boards only need to meet 7 times a year. We need more than that. However, as you'll see in the report, it's discussed that we should consider potentially reducing the number of meetings that we hold, and for several reasons. September is what's being brought forward to the board for discussion today.
To clarify, if I understood, if I remember correctly, July and August are also considered off months, right?
Currently we have February and July off. We meet in August.
Thank you.
This September meeting I take was, it's come up because then we're not off for 2 months. At a time.
Yeah, there are a lot of libraries that do take July and August off. However, there may be business that comes up. So that's why we proposed the September as an off meeting date. But again, that's at the decision of the board if they feel like it would be better to do July and August. That's open for discussion as well.
I like the idea of reducing a meeting if we can, but I also like the idea of September's suggestion. Do this thing that we're not off for 2 months. And hopefully we don't have to call a meeting in that time. And I guess if there's not enough business, we have the opportunity to cancel too. There's some flexibility here because we can still lose a meeting and not be, we're still under the umbrella of it. I think that's important to stay. Any other comments or questions? I'll read this then. The Huron County Library received this report and the arrangements of meetings presented for information, and elimination of a September meeting and dropping down to 9 per year. Hoover, secondary. Moved by Nick and seconded by Jane. All in favor? That's carried. Policy review, the strategic planning policy update presented.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. The board did see this last month at our meeting and it's coming forward for final review. There was an adjustment made based on board member feedback with respect to statistics.
Any questions for Beth on this? I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to accept this. By John, second by Lena. In favor? Security. Next reports the community information policy update.
Thank you through Mr. Chair. Again, this came forward to the board. Last month, there was feedback to consider adding a tear down date. However, staff feel that because most of the posters are event-based or just the demand for the board, that wouldn't be a necessary addition to the policy.
This is fairly straightforward, that we have the ability to remove these posters if they're out of time frame needing to be seen. I'll move her to second for that. Nina, second by Sydney. Those in favor? Security. Correspondence, is there any correspondence? Financial statement here by Lisa, are the
Questions?
just questions on that? Seeing none. Second. Moved by Jane, seconded by Lena. All those in favor? That is carried. Do any board members have anything else they'd like to bring up before we adjourn this meeting?
Just a little thing. Yeah, just remember, Alice Monroe Festival for short story that went very well this year. We had, I think my favorite event was the, breakfast brunch, event, was that more breakfast time than brunch time, where people came in and reminisced about their encounters with Alice Monroe. And there are many stories based out of the Clinton Library of Alice Monroe, encounters with Alice at Clinton Library. So it was I missed last night's meeting, but the numbers were decent. I don't have the final figures, but they're decent, and I was really happy with the youth committee this year. I chaired it, so that's only little plug. But I was happy with the young people on it, and it was nice to see the flexibility with which it embraces new ideas. So it was great. I just wanted to mention that because the library plays a role in that.
Very good, and I commend you on this, and the youth thing came up again here, and the warden did mention this earlier, and we gotta be proud of that, and we gotta keep working at that. So that's important. Anything else any members want to bring up? It's 10:02. Looking for a mover and a second to adjourn this meeting. Moved by Nick. Second by Lena. All in favor? That is carried.
Great meeting, all great work.
Yep.